Hey, folks, and welcome back to the channel. So tonight we're going to be talking about Motley Crue. This is a band that I grew up with, like as most people my age. So I've been looking forward to doing a show on the Crue for a long time. And who better than to do this show with but my good buddy and drummer from one of my bands, Rebel Charm. Say hello to Mike, everybody. Hey,
Howdy.
Mike. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad, man. I'm excited about this one, man. Talking some
too.
Crew.
Me
Talking
too.
some Crew. All right, let me
Yeah.
just say hello to a few people that have popped in. Mitch Heyman is here. Thanks for being here. Charles Green. Charles Green, actually, like I was mentioning to you off air, he was security at the Whiskey. So he actually met these people and knows them personally, which is very cool. Thanks for being here, Charles. Gary Joyce is with us. Who else? Tyler Patterson, welcome. There's Jimmy Biter. How you doing? This thing's jumping on me a little bit here. Okay, here we go. We got hey Larry. Lars is in here. Jimmy Biter. Hello. Spencer Cron. And I think I caught everybody. Yes. Welcome everybody. So we're gonna talk. Oh, and there's Quentin. We got to talk some Crew. So, Mike, I always start these shows by asking this same question. There's Pete Brown. What was your first exposure to Motley Crue?
1983. Here I go, aging ourselves again. But do you remember when there would be like a concert simulcast on TV before?
Yep.
Yeah, stereo TV. So
Yep.
do you remember the US Festival?
Mm-hmm.
1983. So
Yep.
Motley Crue actually played that, but they never
Yep.
actually aired their set. They aired like Van Halen, Ozzy, like Quiet Riot, Triumph, Scorpions. I don't know why they never aired Motley Crue, but I remember audio taping it. I had a little boom box, so I was recording. The radio station was Q107. I was recording the US Festival. And on one of the nights that the US Festival aired, after the show ended, they played this band, Motley Crue, and the song was Looks That Kill.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it for the first time, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is awesome. I didn't know what they looked like. I just heard the song.
Mm-hmm.
I was in love with it. And then I remember it was like a few days later, there was a video show here in Toronto called Toronto Rocks.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the video for it and just their look, like with the big hair and the makeup and everything. I was like, man, it just like it called to me, you know. I'm like, I got to get this album. So I think I went down to I think it was Cheapy's record store in Toronto on Yonge Street, bought the album, still have that vinyl record, the original.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, like from then on, I was a Crue head. So yeah, I've grown up with them, like them and Kiss, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they kind of picked up. I mean, as far as the theatricality, because that's when Kiss was like stepping away from that, and that was the lick
Right.
it up period, and that's when Motley Crue was coming on with the, you know, the get up, the you know, what's that? What was that movie called?
The
Their
Dirt.
first get ups. Oh shit, Road Warrior or something? No, the Mel Gibson role.
Oh, I thought you were talking about it recently.
No. They kind of had that sort of look, you know, with again the makeup and the hair and all that. Yeah, for me it was around the same time, and I remember Shout at the Devil I mean, I bought that record and I'm looking at these guys and they looked, like rock gods, right? And the music was just, I mean, looks to kill to this day. That's one of my songs that if I'm in a car, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. You just start,
Yeah.
it just pumps you up. And I saw them on that tour, right? The first time they ever played Toronto, I was there. They were playing the Coliseum,
Yeah.
the scene where they usually have the horses and stuff. So like it's the ground is dirt, right? And then
Yeah.
they got stands on the side, and it was general admission, right?
Hmm.
So I show up there. The show's at 8 o'clock. I show up there with a bunch of friends that we're figuring, oh, we're gonna there plenty early. I think we got there at 11 or noon or whatever. There was already a massive lineup to get in, right? And the way this place was is all you get to the front of the building. There was I think 3 or 4 steps, and it had these big double metal doors, right? And that was it. So you literally had to squeeze in between that railing and then, get in there. And we were like so far back, we're like, man, we got to figure out it. So we managed. There was, I think, 4 or 5 of us, right? And we just snuck in, like just inside the metal railing. Okay.
Yeah.
And we were holding onto each other's hands like a chain. Because what happened is when they opened the doors, Mike, my feet left the floor and I was just floating. And I don't think my feet hit the ground till I was probably 20 feet, 25 feet into the dirt floor. And then my feet hit the ground. And then I make a beeline for the stage. And the whole night I'm standing in front of Mick Mars. And when those flame pots were going, dude, my eyebrows were singed. I could feel like I don't know what like grit on my face.
Yeah.
And I was so close, but I couldn't hear for 3 days.
Yeah.
But man, was it amazing!
Oh yeah.
It was just killer,
I
man. What a killer show, man.
I wish I could have been at that show. I guess I didn't have. I mean, I was pretty young at the time.
Yeah,
Mind you, I mean, I saw Kiss, in '79, but I guess I didn't have anyone old enough to go with or something. But I do have a bootleg of that show on cassette somewhere. So
yeah. Actually, Mitch, Mad Max. That's the movie I was referring to. Yeah, they had that sort of Mad Max post-apocalyptic look.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Alrighty, so there's just gonna say a few more people that popped in. There's Paul Lou, welcome. There's R2, hey buddy, nice to see you. Okay, I think I caught it. Oh, Cecil Music, how are you? Janice, nice to see you. Okay, so we're gonna start now. Some of you may or may not know, Mike has eyesight problems, so he's going to be listening to his picks on an earbud. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth. And we're going to start from number 10, and we're going to
9.
make our oh sorry, number 9. I keep thinking the top 10, but they've only got the 9 albums. So we're going to go from 9 up to 1. And Mike, why don't you start? Give us your number 9 pick and tell us why.
All right. So my number 9 is New Tattoo. I think that came out in 2000.
Wow.
First album without Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee decided that he didn't like rock music anymore, which was
I remember that. Yeah.
kind of weird. So Randy Castillo took his spot.
Yeah.
Great rock drummer from Ozzy, who is since passed away.
No longer with us. Yeah.
No, and then for the tour, they got Samantha Maloney from Hole,
Yep.
which was pretty cool, having a female drummer in there, and she did a great job. And but yeah, the album is just honestly, when that album came out, it really just didn't do much for me.
Mm.
Even the single for New Tattoo was, I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. So I haven't listened to it in years, and I had to actually listen to it again before we did this, just to, figure enough time has passed and like my taste has changed. But honestly, it just I kind of feel the same way about it now as when it came out, and it was just weird, The album bombed for them, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's just because Tommy wasn't there. I just don't think the songwriting was there.
Hmm.
Um, it's just, yeah, it's never been, it's never really done anything for me. And I was just surprised that this many years later, that things haven't
Yeah,
changed.
sometimes they change over time. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting. That's
exactly.
interesting. Wow. Okay. Um, so my number 9 is Saints of Los Angeles. Um, you know what? What you said about New Tattoo, it's for me. It's that. That's how I feel about Saints of Los Angeles. It was just. It sounded like a tired album. It's them trying to recapture their glory. And I mean, I'm looking at the song list here. There's a song called "Down at the Whiskey." It's like,
Yeah,
they're reminiscing and they're trying to kind of, be the cool rock guys that they were. But I mean, these are guys in their 50s singing like, shit that happened when they were in their 20s. It just doesn't translate. I just, there's nothing really memorable about the songs on the record. I'm looking at the set list here. What's the song that probably my favorite song on here is "The Animal in Me."
that's a great
Um, yeah, but honestly, the other ones, the single, "The Saints of Los Angeles," I don't know. It sounded tired to me. It sounded like a lot of bands when that were big, 30 years ago, and they put out something new, and very rarely is it on par with, what they did, 10, 20 years earlier, the exception being Priest, right? That's
Yeah.
one exception to that rule, but there's not a lot of bands that can do that. So yeah, I don't know. It just kind of, it just like, it falls flat for me. It doesn't really crank me up that much,
You
that
know, it's
record.
it's interesting because I remember when I first heard the single for Saints of Los Angeles, it actually got me really excited. It actually kind of reminded me of the Girls, Girls, Girls era a little bit.
Yeah.
And, like I really liked it, and it made me like get really excited for the release of the album. And yeah, "The Animal in Me" is another great song. They should have done a video for it, but they never did. But
Yeah.
I kind of have to agree with you. Like the rest of the album, other than those two, there's maybe like 3 or 4 songs I like, but I think there's a lot of filler.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of filler on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What do you got for your number 8?
All right. For my number 8, I have Generation Swine.
Okay.
Again, that was, I think, when we were talking before we came on, I said I was kind of flip flopping my 8 and 9.
Hmm.
Sort of the same thing. I love the song "Afraid." And I
Yeah.
love the remake that they did of "Shout at the Devil." I thought that was a cool remake. Other than that, I mean, this was Vince coming back to the band, after John Corabi,
Right.
and, John Corabi plays a fair bit on this album, and, I think he also co-wrote some stuff.
Mm.
But, yeah, it just didn't sound like a Molly album. I mean, it was
Yeah.
very very alternative. I don't know if they were trying to go that route, but again, in my opinion, there wasn't anything that jumped out. You know, it was a pretty big disappointment for me. So
Yeah.
that sort of made my number 8, because at least there's a couple of songs on there that I liked. Where as New Tattoo, I
Nothing.
really, yeah.
Okay. Well, we have this in common because my number 8 is also Generation Swine. Uh, it was an experiment. They were trying to Motley Crue, and I'm not just gonna blame Motley Crue because there was a lot of bands that, and Kiss, as you know, being one of them, that were chasing trends, right?
Mhm.
Kiss did the Carnival of Souls. They were trying to be, a '90s, and it's like they don't do it well. I mean, they didn't do it well, right? All that experimentation. I mean, it one song for me that it worked on, and I agree with you 100%. I love "Afraid." "Afraid"
Mhm.
is a fantastic song.
Yeah.
but everything else pales. The first cut, Find Myself isn't bad, and then the rest of it just doesn't work. Some different guitar tones, some different textures there, different production style. Again, trying to sort of, make them modern or, current at that time. And it's not a Motley record.
And
Yeah,
you can't fool the fans, you know? I mean, it was the same with, like you said, Carnival of Souls for Kiss. I mean, you and I are
yeah,
huge Kiss fans. I mean, I liked it because it was Kiss, and Kiss is, like, one of my favorite bands, but, like, would I rank it in my top 10? No. It's not convincing, and it's not
yeah.
that.
No, it's not them. No.
Kudos to AC/DC where all their songs sound the same, but you know what? That's what people like. Could
Yeah,
you if AC/DC came out and sounded like Alice in Chains? I don't think so, right? So,
it wouldn't work. Yeah,
no.
yeah. No, I hear you. Alrighty. So we agree on one. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So that's 9, 8. What about 7? What do you got for 7?
So, it's one that you've already mentioned, and that's Saints of Los Angeles. Again, it's like I could only pick a couple of songs that I really like off that album. I like more songs off that album than, Generation Swine, again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sort of the same thing. I mean, like I said, I was really excited when that single came out for Saints of Los Angeles, and I just got really excited. And the majority album was a bit of a letdown. And years later, I mean, we can get into this after we get to our number ones, but I found out years later that Mick Mars isn't even playing on that album. It's DJ Ashba. So it's almost
Yeah,
like a Kiss type thing now. It's like, well, who was playing guitar and somebody else was playing that? Like, it's just, you know, you would think Motley was a band like Kiss where it was the four of them, and it didn't work. When Tom, like pretty much everyone's left that band except for Nikki, right?
Nikki.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I mean, that's
He's got
Saints.
a lot of song credits on that record, DJ Ash, but I didn't know that he played Mick, like did the guitar. That's
Yeah,
news to me.
apparently he played all the guitar on there.
Oh
Mick
boy.
isn't on there at all, and I mean, I didn't know that. I only found out like this year. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Wow. Cool. Wow. Alrighty. So for my number 7, now I had a hell of a time between 7 and 6. I said earlier it was 7 and 8, but it was 7 and 6. These two are almost interchangeable, but I'll just go with what I have on my list for now. So my number 7 is the Motley Crue '94 with John Corabi. Um, it's a new singer. So you could say, were they chasing trends, or was it the influence of the new singer? Because they were kind of, it was a little bit of both in that, right? Because they were
Mhm.
trying to be like a heavier, a lot of drop D, a lot of sort of more grungier, if you will, type stuff. Karabi is amazing on this record. I actually met John Karabi. I think you did too, right? At one of the, remember one of the Kiss expos?
No, I wasn't
No.
at that one.
Oh, he was with Bruce Kulick. That's when they were launching the Union
Union.
Project. And
Oh,
actually, it's funny because I'm listening to some of this stuff, and it's reminding me of the Union stuff, which is amazing. If anybody hasn't
mhm.
checked out Union, go. They only had 2 records out. First one is called Union, and the other one is called Blue something. I can't remember. Anyways, but check out a band called Union. The 2 records, phenomenal. Anyways, but it's a good record. What I found with this record is it's really top heavy. Like, in other words, the first like 5 songs are pretty strong, and then it just kind of starts to tail off after that. This does not sound like a Motley Crue record again, but on its own, it's a good record. I'm not going to say this is a bad record. I think this is a pretty good record. Um, the first few cuts on this, Power to the Music, Uncle Jack, Hooligan's Holiday. For me, the star of this record, Love Shine is pretty good too, is Misunderstood.
Yeah, I was just
That
about to say.
song is fantastic,
Yeah.
right? It's got that sort of Dear Prudence descending bass thing going over the top, and then it comes in heavy. It's just a fantastic song, and and you can hear there's a lot of Karabi guitar playing on this, because I think I hear more him than Mick on this record.
Mhm.
But it's a fantastic record. I mean, on its own, it's a great record. If you're not so much a Motley record, but just a good record with that particular lineup. But as I said, the first 5 or 6 cuts are great. Then for me, it just kind of starts to trail off a little bit. But yeah, for now, that's my number 7. Tomorrow, that would probably be my number 6. That's how good that record is. But there you go.
Nice.
Alrighty, what do you got for number 7?
Actually, I'm just gonna throw
Or
in a
no,
quick,
number 6. You're at number 6. I'm at number 7.
yeah,
Sorry.
I'm just gonna throw in a quick note. There was that album that Motley released when they kind of got back together again, called Red, White, and Crew. It was sort of like a greatest
Yeah.
hits, and
Hmm.
I can't remember if there were 2 or 4 new songs on there. So anyway, Mick's not playing on any of those songs either. They're all DJ Ashba.
Oh shit!
Again, another thing I found out that I did not know. So
Wow,
that was kind of disappointing. And again, it's like the whole Kiss thing over again, you know? So,
wow.
but okay, so my number 6 is Too Fast for Love. Now, I think it's a great
Okay.
album. Don't get me wrong. But I guess because I got into them at Shout at the Devil, that's the album that really kind of did it for me. I mean, I like I said, I still like it, but um, I mean, as far as putting them in order, that's kind of where that one sits. It's I love Livewire, obviously.
Yeah,
Come on and Dance, Public Enemy, number one. I mean, there really isn't a bad song on there, but it's just again when it came to putting it in order, and it's just kind of, each of these albums is kind of like a time machine, and you think of, you know how old you were or where you were or what was going on in your life at that time. And for me, I got into it later, so that's my number 6.
what's funny is before we went on the air, we were talking about, geez, I wonder how our lists gonna, or how our lists are gonna compare, and
Yeah.
is Mike gonna have a hard left? And there was Mike's hard left, right across.
I knew it. It
That
was
was a
just a
hard
matter of
left.
time.
That was just a matter of time. And hey, it's all is good. All right. So this one, again, I have this at 6, but this could have been 7. I'm going with Theater of Pain. Um, this was the follow up to a Shout, and you know, I mean, I've read stories. This was when Nicky was at his worst, and was just trying to get songs together, and just and you could tell the riffs are not nearly as good, the songs are not nearly as cool. To me, this record sounds like they're treading water. What saved their asses on this record is, of course, Home Sweet Home, right? They got the radio play and this and that, and I mean, that cover of Smoking in the Boys Room, I mean, that is the worst piece of crap. What a trite. Oh my god, it's like, that's how, to me, that is an indicator where they were at. It's like, we can't, well, let's do a cover, and then of all the covers are going to do that. Anyways,
Well,
but whatever. But
it was
it's
huge.
terrible. I know it was big, but I hated it. And I mean, I'm just looking at the what I do like on here. City Boy Blues, the opener's not bad. Louder Than Hell is okay. Save Our Souls is a little slower, but I don't know. It just sounds like very formulaic, and just there's no, you know, it's so pale in comparison to the all the all the other records, I should say, are fantastic. Like, these are kind of good and not so good, but from this point on, everything is fantastic, and this one just really pales in comparison to the top 5 for me. But I remember being so disappointed when I bought that record, because I was expecting another Shout at the Devil, and instead of getting smoking in the boy, I'm like, come on, you're killing me here. But anyways, yeah. So that's my 987. That's my number 6. All right. So we're down to number 5. What do you got?
Number 5, I've got Girls, Girls, Girls.
Okay.
So, and again, that's when they kind of ditched the makeup.
Yeah.
Um, I remember going to that tour. I remember it clearly. Maple Leaf Gardens with Whitesnake opening. Whitesnake had the 1987 album out with Slip of the Tongue, and
Mm-hmm.
man, it was a great double bill. Uh, yeah, man. I mean, I really like that album. The songs that kind of the reason I moved it up to number 5 was, I guess, they did a cover of Jailhouse Rock, which nothing against Elvis, but it's like I would have rather had a live Motley song on there. They also had that other short song called Nona, which really has
Yeah.
no lyrics that apparently Nicky wrote for his grandmother.
It's pretty. I just wish there was a B section. It's just the same thing and then it ends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just but I mean, as far as like the singles, like man, it was a great album. I mean,
Yeah.
I was always into like, the big hair and the makeup and stuff. So, I was kind of disappointed when they took the makeup off, but I mean, it was an awesome tour. So
Oh yeah.
that's when Tommy's drums went upside
They
down.
rotated. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just again, fond memories, brings me back to a really good time in my life. I could listen to this album anytime. I mean, who doesn't love Wild Side, or
Yeah.
I mean, even Girls, 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 and what was the single, the slow song, Get
Oh.
Home. The
Uh,
video got banned on MTV because it was too violent.
I don't know. I'm not.
You know the one
I'm
I'm
pulling
talking
up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
I
pulling
know.
up set lists for my next pick. So, but when that one's coming, so I'll get to
You're
it
All
then.
I Need. That's it.
You're all I need. Oh yeah.
Yeah, great tune, but,
There was
I
two
don't
slow ones on that record, right? There was two of them, right?
2, slow songs?
Was there two on that record? I'll find out once I look at
Yeah,
the track listing. Yeah.
yeah, you've got the advantage over me, you got sight, so I'm just I'm going by muscle memory here.
Yeah, I can't memorize song titles to save my life. That's why I have to pull them up on the phone here. Yeah.
I'm curious.
Alrighty, so that's your number 5.
Right.
So my number 5 is a record that you weren't too happy with, but I think is killer, and that's New Tattoo. Um,
Really? Wow.
yeah, I mean this record, it sounds like man, they're back. It's got all kinds of cool riffs. It's hooky as all hell. Man, there's a lot of hooks on this record. I mean, Hell or High Heels right off the bat is killer. Drag Strip, Superstar. I love that song, man. There's just so many good.
Yeah.
She Needs Rock and Roll, First Band on the Moon. I love the cover. Here's a cover of theirs that I like: White Punks on Dope. That I love. Right? Fake is a cool tune. It sounded like Motley Crue again. Like the heavy guitars, the cool riffs. But with that sort of pop sensibility and those hooks, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that for me was a return back to Motley Crue. What Motley Crue was, earlier on. Not so much the girls, girls, girls period, but actually more like the Too Fast for Love period.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, I love that record, and yeah, it's catchy as hell, and that's one that one totally blew by me, like because I was off of Motley Crue, right?
Mhm.
And I discovered that record like later. Actually, I remember seeing a video of that tour with the drummer from Hole. I forget her name, but
That's
I'm
an Pony, yeah.
yeah. There's a video of that show, and I saw the video, and I'm hearing these songs. I'm like, these songs are freaking cool, and then
Yeah.
yeah, I dig it, man. I really dig it. That for me, I know it didn't do well because I think people had moved past Motley Crue at
Mhm.
that point, but that's a damn good record, man. Yeah. So that's why it's at my number 5.
That's why I love doing these things with you, man. Like some of the things were just like neck and neck, and some things were just like total opposite. But that's what makes the world go around, right?
That's
Variety
yeah.
is the
That
life.
is what makes the world go around. Okay. Yes. What do we got for number 4?
So for number 4, I've got the self-titled Motley Crue from 1994 with John Corabi.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I love that album. It's the only Motley album that I don't have on vinyl, and it's driving me nuts. I wish they would release it. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, yeah, a lot of people don't consider it a Motley record. Maybe they should have changed their name, but I
Yeah.
just love the heaviness of it. I love the sound of it. I love the songwriting. Um, I think like having John Corabi playing guitar on there, it definitely thickened up their sound and made them a little bit heavier. Man, I love that album, but it's funny. Like I love that album. I love those songs, but I was never crazy about John Corabi singing the Vince songs.
Yeah.
Just to me, it just didn't sound right. And so it was cool when they did the songs from this album, but when they went back and they did like Motley's old catalog, it just man, it was like something was really missing there, and it just I don't know,
Yeah.
it just didn't digest well with me, and I guess didn't digest well with a lot of other fans too. But as a standalone album on its own, even if it wasn't, a Motley Crue album, like I still love that album,
Yeah.
and I hope that one day they issue it on vinyl. Just because like I said, I'm anal that way, right? Like I like to have the whole catalog. So
Yeah, it's a great record. Like, and you mentioned the songwriting. I mean, Karabi's an amazing songwriter, and that's what I said. Like, that's why I could hear his influence because no one, the Union record. It's like, man, it's all over. His fingerprints are all over that
yeah,
album. That's what makes
mhm,
it great.
yeah.
All right, my number 4, girls, girls, girls. Uh, I'll tell you what I don't like about this record is I don't like the guitar tone.
Oh,
Actually, there's not a lot of records, not a lot of Motley Crue that I do like the guitar tone.
mhm,
But this one, but the songs are so good, and I'm trying to find the set list for it. Oh, here it is. Um, a, a lot of the tunes I don't like the guitar tone too much, but the riffs on this are so damn good that it doesn't even matter. Right? There's a few examples of albums that are not crazy about the guitar tone, but the music is so damn good, right? And this is one of them. Wild Side right off the bat. I mean, dun dun and dun dun dun. I mean, what an amazing riff.
yeah,
Girls, girls, girls. Dancing on Glass. 5 years. Like there's a lot of really good. The Jailhouse Rock that's got to go. That's terrible.
yeah,
But the other stuff, You're All I Need. I'm not I'm not crazy about that ballad. Yeah, not for me. But there's enough good heavy riffing on this, and Mick Mars is on the top of his game on this record. Um, you know what? We may talk about this later, but Mick Mars is Motley Crue as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned. Yeah, he is the voice music of Motley Crue, and he's all over this, and he's playing his ass off, and yeah, that's what makes this record great. I just wish his tone was just a little bit warmer, but apart from that, absolutely killer record, and yeah, this did very very well for them too, from what I
mhm,
recall.
yeah,
Yeah, and I had the cool videos and all that went along with it, and on the Harleys and all that,
yeah,
going to the strip
absolutely.
joints. Yeah,
Yeah,
this one brought him back. Great
yeah,
record, great
yeah,
record.
and great tour as well.
Yeah, I didn't see this tour. This tour I did not see.
Oh, okay.
All right, we are down to 3, 2, 1. We're down to number 3.
All right. So for me, my 3 is Theater of Pain. So
Wow.
yeah, again, man, I can't remember what grade I was in. I was really short, and I remember riding my bike on a hot summer night or day, I should say,
Hmm.
to remember. oh, I can't remember the place. Honest Ed's. There you go. Remember,
Baptist.
I
Yeah,
remember me and a buddy riding our
Baptist.
bikes to
Yeah,
Honest Ed's to buy it on cassette tape. So,
right.
and also again, I guess it has a soft spot in my heart because that was my first concert.
Hmm.
And I loved the makeup again, and like, I thought it was a great tour again, like the album. See, for me, I like Smoking in the Boys Room. I mean, that was just,
Yeah.
you know, so, and yeah, and obviously like Home Sweet Home speaks for itself. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I got a soft spot for that album. So
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Alrighty, so my number three, and this was, I think, by far their biggest seller, and I'm talking about Doctor Feelgood. Uh, they got together with Bob Rock. At that point, they were supposed to be all clean and sober and gonna make a good record, and man, they knocked it out of the park. There's not a bad. No, I'm just looking at. There's not like, well, Without You is meh. But apart from that,
Yeah.
there's really not a bad song on here, man. The title cut is killer. Rattlesnake Shake, Slice Your Pie, Kickstart My Heart. Same old situation. Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away. I love that song. I mean, there's so many good. Actually, Time for Change is the other one. But outside of those two, which of course are the ballads, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a fantastic album, man, top to bottom, and the production on it is good. The guitars on this, I actually dig the sound. This is better than most of their records.
Mhm.
Yeah, and again, man, it's all Mick Mars, man. Listen to his playing on this record; it's absolutely stellar. You know,
Yeah.
the guy just riff wise, the solos are bang on. They're memorable. That's the one thing with Mick. I mean, he was in the part of that whole hair thing, but he did not get into the acrobatics. That guy was just a straight up guitar player. He wasn't
Yeah.
doing any flashy tapping and whammy. I mean, a little bit here and there, but I mean that wasn't his main thing. His main thing was just, I'm going to play something that suits the song, and elevates it. And he's just super musical. And man, it really comes through on this record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig this record a lot. When I and get ready for the show, I hadn't listened to this record in a long time, and I listened to it on
Mhm.
the drive. I was going somewhere, and I'm like, "Holy shit, is this a good album? Really good album."
And that album still stands the test of time, I think.
Yes, yeah,
When I used
100%.
to when I used to play hockey, we used to crank that album out. Like, we used to rent the ice, so we could play hockey, and before we play, we'd have that album, like, cranked up in the whole arena. Man, it just really gets the adrenaline going,
Oh
no
yeah,
matter what you're doing, but yeah, love that album.
yeah, it's killer. It's
Yeah,
killer.
and it was another great tour. So,
Yeah. All right, we're down to our top two. What do you
alright.
got? What's your number two?
For me, I've got Shout at the Devil. So that again brings me back to what got me into Motley Crue in the first place. Just loving their sound, loving their look. And then I remember buying that album and opening up the gatefold, which has
Yeah,
that
the four of
that
them. Yeah.
awesome, the four of them standing there, and they just, oh man, they just still, I love that look. Like, well, maybe not so much what Vince was wearing. It's kind of funny, but but man, and you can still see, even though they didn't air the Motley Crue Us Festival '83, it is on YouTube, so
Yeah, I've
you can,
seen it.
yeah, you can see the full show. And
Yeah.
man, I don't know, I just I still love that album. I mean, hey, they did the Helter Skelter. That was the cover for that album. I could
Hmm.
have. That's the only song I could have kind of, you know. whatever. But yeah, I mean, I remember hearing the beginning, in the beginning,
Yeah.
Shout at the Devil when I was a little kid. Uh, that scared the crap out of me. You know, as a little kid, I was like, "Oh my god," it was just like it scared me.
Well, that's the
But
whole Mad Max thing, right?
yeah,
That
yeah. Well,
whole
I was like,
theme, right?
is that supposed to be the devil talking? Like it was just,
Armageddon, right? That was
it was.
Nikki Sixx's voice, I think, wasn't it? Doing
I
that?
don't, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, but again, sweet spot for me. So that's my number two.
Nothing wrong with that, man. So here's my number two. Too Fast for Love. I
Yeah,
love this record. Man, do I love this record. It sounds like a homemade in somebody's basement with a bunch of microphones just hanging from the ceiling, you know, and but it doesn't matter because the songs are so damn good. And Mick is his, I mean, come on and dance, that big long extended thing that he does is like, I was learning how to play guitar at that time, and I learned how to play that whole freaking thing, like all those little, all that, every little thing. And I'm probably saying, I'm probably talking one solo and saying a different song because it's all scrambled in my head. But I mean, holy shit! Like, I just love the playing on that. It's so raw. The songs are so cool, and it's very pop. It's got this kind of like '60s pop kind of, uh, tendencies over top of it. Like, like it's got like the Ronettes, kind of a girl group, Phil Spector kind of thing. Sandra D and all this kind of stuff. But then it's got the heavy guitar. It's catchy as hell. And I mean, I just go, I'm going over looking at the set, the keep saying set list, the track listing here, like Live
yeah,
Wire, Killer, Public Enemy number one, Take Me to the Top,
yeah,
Oh, merry-go-round, don't merry-go-round and round. Like, I mean, every song, piece of your action, a piece of your action. That's the one that's got the big long
yeah,
extended solo.
yeah,
Oh my god, man, painstakingly putting the record, the needle on the record, listening and then finding it, and then man, I learned. I don't ask me to do it now, but I was able to play that whole friggin' lead break.
yeah. Now,
Starry Eyes, come on and dent. I mean, all of it, on with the. It's just, I love it. I love it because it's so, like, if they re-recorded this, like in a fancy studio, and I probably wouldn't like it as much. I like it because it is so
the raw.
raw,
Yeah,
and it's no frills, and there's no. I mean, that's that the guitar that's Mick through a Marshall mic. Like, there's no. I don't think, not that I can hear a lot of processing going on, and that's
yeah,
why I love that record.
yeah.
You know,
Well, now that we're talking about it, I might have to change the order, but no, I can't now. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like I said, I think if that was the first album that got me into Motley, it probably would have been higher up. But I kind of got into it after the fact, and yeah, you're right. It's still, man, it's a great album. I mean, they did it independently. They did it on a
shoe
shoestring budget.
shoestring, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Tommy's drums on that sounds so real. Like, it's like you're in the room, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
love that, man. I
I mean,
love it.
for that year too, and for that drum sound, I mean, it's pretty good because you listen to a lot of albums that were recorded back then, and it's they're far and few between where the drum sound. I mean, I'm always obviously all about the drums, right? So, but yeah, it's great. It is a great album. So if I was to go back, I might slightly change my ranking, but I'll keep it as is. So
Well, that leaves us with number one, and I know what your number one is because we haven't talked about it.
all right. So yeah, Dr. Feelgood. Again, what else can I say from start to finish? Fantastic album. Again, great tour. Just brings me back to high school. I remember buying this album the day it came out at HMV. Man, it's like, yeah. I mean, there's not much else I could say that you haven't said already about it, but yeah, fantastic. I mean, still stands the test of time. I could
Yeah,
listen to it, whenever they play any of those songs on Hair Nation, like I gotta crank it up, right? So and I've got like multiple versions of that album, like the 20th anniversary, the 30th anniversary, they're again like Kiss, right? So they gotta make that extra coin where when they can reissue stuff. So
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, that's my number one, and I'm sticking to it.
Nothing wrong with that number one.
Mhm.
My number one is gonna be my number one in forever, and it is "Shout at the Devil," the
Nice.
first record of theirs that I bought, first tour of theirs that I saw, and I went and I hadn't listened to this in ages, and I put it on, and I just that it, my God, it just sent me right back. Oh God, those songs are so good on this.
Yeah.
It's just so many memories, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning, all the intro there, and then shout at the devil, gung gung gong, like, oh man, like, looks at kill, bastard is amazing.
Mhm.
I like Helter Skelter. That's another cover of theirs. I actually love the way they play it. I love the
Yeah.
way they like dunk gunk gunk gunk. Yeah, it's good, man. Red Hot, Too Young to Fall in Love. That was, I mean, another single and another cool video of theirs. They had Looks That Kill, and they had
Yeah.
Too Young to Fall in Love. Knock 'em dead, kid. I mean, 10 seconds to left. Gunk, 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 gunk. Like,
Yeah.
I can play pretty much, I'd say like 60% of the riffs off of this, right? And again, I'm learning how to play guitar and I'm listening to Motley Crue, and hey, I can kind of play this stuff. It gets you interested. But I mean, I guess if you want to call it a slow song, or the slowest song on this is Danger.
Mhm.
And I love Danger,
Oh,
man.
yeah. Yeah, great
It's a
tune.
great song, man.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just the songs are great. If I was to be really, really picky, I would like a little more clarity in mixed guitar tone, but that's me being, little. But I mean, the songs are amazing. The whole record is just top to bottom. When you say Motley Crue, probably 90, most people would say Dr. Feelgood. When I think Motley Crue, it's Shout at the Devil.
Yeah.
Shout at the Devil is my favorite version of that band.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I got one at number 1 and one at number 2, right? So we're pretty
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah. Those are killer. Those are killer. Yeah. All
as
right.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's I'm trying to think. There was the album Decade of Decadence. I believe it came out right after Dr. Feelgood,
Hmm.
and it had another one of my favorite Motley Crue songs on it, which was Primal Scream.
Yeah. That's a good song.
I love, love, love that song, but it wasn't on a full-length album. It was on a greatest hits compilation. So I just wanted to throw that in as a bonus if there was a number 10 or something. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so just wanted to throw that in. So
So, I mean, we talked about this a little bit off air before, but I know this is kind of one of the big topics everybody's talking about these days. The whole idea of John Five coming in for Mick, and I'm hearing that they're actually going to be recording an album with John Five.
yeah.
Bob Rock is going to be involved,
Mhm.
and I got two questions: who's going to sing?
It's gonna be your buddy Vince Neil,
Vince and a lot of studio trickery.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen Motley Crue 3 times, and of the 3 times that I've seen them, Vince was only able to sing once,
Yeah. Yeah.
just the first
That's all
time.
right. Well, I just saw them last summer on the stadium tour. And I mean it's hard to say this, but I mean it was Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, and Joan Jett. And honestly, man, Motley Crue sounded the worst out of all of them, and, everybody that I went with felt the same way.
Yeah.
It was just their overall sound. It wasn't just Vince, it was just their sound was just horrible. And I mean, maybe it's also because it was a stadium and things do tend to sound better in smaller venues. I
Yeah.
personally prefer seeing a band in an arena or a theater
Theater's the
as
best place.
opposed to yeah, as opposed to, a big stadium, but, yeah, it was a pretty big disappointment, but having said that, man, Mick Mars played his parts perfectly.
Mm.
I also saw them on their farewell tour that they did in when was that, 2015? No. Yeah, I think it was 2015 with Alice Cooper, and again, Mick was the best musician. Like,
Mick's always been the best musician.
yeah, and that's why I was just when they first announced it that Mick is going into retirement, he's still gonna be a part of the band, he's still gonna record and all this other stuff. I don't know, man, it didn't sit right with me, and I found it kinda unbelievable too, and, I think it was John Corabi who actually came out and said, he doesn't believe it for a second, you know?
So, I mean, when I say that, Mick is great. This is no diss against John Five. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh,
John Five can play circles
oh,
around Mick
yeah,
Mars and pretty much most guitar players out there. He's a sick
yeah.
guitar
He's
player.
yeah, and I mean, I'm not even a guitar player, but yeah, he's a fantastic guitar player,
Yeah,
super humble guy, and he can play anything. I mean,
literally anything,
yeah,
right? And
he
and him playing Motley Crue would be like Picasso finger painting. Like it's so easy.
yeah,
It's the guy's probably not even batting an eye, right? And but I he'll when he's playing it, he's nailing it. He's playing it perfectly and
mhm,
and all of that. And yeah, it's great. On stage, I mean, one of the videos I've seen, he doesn't fit in look wise. He wears his guitar too high. That's one of my things. I, guitars up here, unless you're playing like a ukulele, your guitar should be down by your cojones, you know what I mean? But that's just me, right? It's I like the Jimmy Page, not the I don't know up here thing. But yeah, he can. But writing new material. Mick Mars is the sound of that band. Like, what is John Five gonna do? Is he just gonna like try to sound like Mick Mars and do different riffs? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. And going back and listening to this catalog and getting ready for the show, all I'm thinking is, holy shit, Mick Mars is the sound of this band. This band is all Mick Mars.
mhm,
Nicky can write some lyrics, whatever, but Nicky himself is not a great musician. The guy's not, he ain't playing no fancy bass lines. He's just holding it down, and all the riffs and fleshing everything out and making it all sound cool, dude. That's all Mick.
yeah,
So I don't know how that's gonna fly. Money aside and all that other stuff, it's just that it can't be the same. He's an integral part of the band. You know.
yeah. Can I say a little something about that? I don't think John 5 is gonna want to even sound like Mick. I think John 5 is gonna sound like John 5. I think there might be a little bit of a change to their sound, but I think I could see it kind of in a good way. Would I prefer Mick there? Yeah, because he's an original member. I mean, and like I said, anytime I saw Motley Crue live, he was the one guy that played the entire show perfectly. I would hear, you know, Vince would screw up, Tommy would even screw up, and yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like it's like you could say the same thing about Kiss, right? Like he might bring something new and good. I mean, it was
Well,
almost like when Bruce Kulick join Kiss. Like I actually liked his guitar playing. Like I thought it brought something new and different, but it still fit. So
The only thing I would suggest would be that if Karabi, I mean, if he came in and he came up with his own stuff, right?
mhm,
That this would be sort of the same idea as the Motley Crue '94 record. Don't compare it to other Motley Crue records. Maybe just look at that record on its own merits and is it good?
yeah,
And I mean, with John Five, I mean, the playing is going to be phenomenal on it, right?
yeah, yeah,
I don't know how the hell Nicky's going to catch up if John Five starts going crazy,
yeah. And I
but
mean,
that's
and
another story.
you got Bob Rock producing too. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. So the product will be good, but if people are expecting it to sound like, I don't know, shout at the devil or girls go,
yeah,
it's not. It can't.
yeah,
You
I
can't
agree.
do it without Mick.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, yeah,
Having said that, the one thing with Motley is, when I was younger, Motley was they were like, they were like gods. They were the ultimate rock stars. And
yep.
then just as I've gotten older and they've gotten older, I just kind of wish they would keep their mouth shut and just play music, because just, things that show up in the press, like, I mean, I think it was during the pandemic, like, Nikki came out and he posted on, Facebook and Twitter and a few other places. He was pissed off because people don't consider him to be a great bass player, apparently. Like, why would you come out and say that? Like, he feels that he's upset because he feels the fans rate him as an underrated bass player. Well, you kind of are. I mean, um, it's like, man, you've got this great legacy. Like, why do you have to? It was almost like he just wanted attention. Yeah, and it really bugged me. And like Tommy's done that a lot too. Like in the present, not so much lately, but like in the past, like in the 2010s, kind of going up. Like these guys or again, were like ultimate rock stars in my life, and it just, the more they open their mouth up now, it just, I'm like, man, just please just be quiet and just play your music, man.
They're ruining their own legacy.
Exactly. Yeah,
Is what they're doing,
that's what I was
and
trying to say. Yeah, and it
uh,
just,
yeah, it's terrible. I have the same reaction. I mean, with Paul Stanley.
oh yeah, yeah,
I wish he
exactly.
would have shut up 20 years ago because I'm at a point like, I mean, this guy was a rock god for me, right?
Mhm.
Thought he was the greatest, you know, star in the world and everything else, but now, dude, I can't even listen to an interview with him.
Oh, I
I'm
know. And
so tired of his thing. All he does is, he just throws everybody under the bus and nothing is his fault. And
yeah,
I read his book and it's like, this guy did this guy did this guy did, like he's, his hands are clean in all, everything that's happened.
yeah,
And yeah, he just, I can't listen to him anymore.
yeah,
And here's what kills me. Everybody was always saying, Gene was the bad one and whatever, whatever. And I'm sure you have too. Like I've had encounters with them, right?
mhm,
And I'll tell you something. Gene is a much better guy to shoot. Gene will talk to you. Gene will hang out with you. Gene will not leave until everybody's happy. You
yeah.
know, Gene is the guy. It ain't Paul. Paul's about Paul. Gene is the guy,
I mean, yeah, I could see that now, but again, when we did our Kiss show, like Paul was actually really cool with me. I went back to their hotel, and found out what hotel they were staying at, and he was very cool with me. And at that time, I was like, this little, what was I, 13 or something like that? Like, I don't know. I mean, he was always cool with me, and so was Gene. But later on in life, again, like after the 2010s, or
Yeah.
it was always Gene saying something, and Paul would, like, I don't know if you remember, Paul would actually apologize for Gene saying something, but now
Yeah.
Paul's become so much worse, and Gene's become more
It
like
could-
laid back. He just kind of keeps to himself,
yeah,
and it's like, what's with these musicians, man? Like that they've got, like you said, they've got such a good legacy.
yeah. Just
And
shut up.
yeah, it's like,
Stop throwing Ace under the bus. And you know who else got to know? Ace got to start shutting up too, because now
oh yes,
he's
yes,
starting to, yeah, you
oh
know.
yeah,
But when Paul was here doing Phantom of the Opera, I mean, a couple times, we went. He comes out the side door. There's a bunch of people waiting. He signed my Psycho Circus thing,
yeah,
and he was very, very cool. But I'm talking like I guess as they get older, they just don't give a shit, or the filter comes off, and then they
yeah.
just
I don't know what it is, but it just, I don't like it because I prefer to keep them as like icons,
yeah,
just
you
they were
yeah.
just untouchable. They were
And
just,
the other part of that, Mike, too, is when you go see them and they disappoint you,
yeah,
and they're like, dude, hang it up.
yeah.
Motley Crue, Vince Neil, dude, hang it up. He can't sing anymore. Stop it. Paul Stanley,
Yeah.
stop it. Stop it 20 years ago,
Well,
and I'm being generous.
again, Vince was always sort of like a kind of like a David Lee Roth. He wasn't really known for his vocals, but having said that, yeah, I mean, you just have to punch up on YouTube,
Yeah.
Vince Neil vocals, and I'm sure everybody out there has seen it, right? Like
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it live, you've seen it on YouTube, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a disappointment. Honestly, like I love Motley, but they should have retired in 2015 when they did that farewell tour where they all signed an agreement saying that they'll never play again.
Yeah.
And like that should have been the end. That was a great show. It was great having Alice Cooper like open the show. I
Mhm.
mean, Alice, there's a guy who still sounds great, you know, sweet guy too. And
Mhm.
just like he's still got it, man, and he's even better now when that guy talks than he was like years ago, right? Like he's just he's intelligent. He doesn't throw people under the bus, and he wants to help people actually. So
Yeah. Yeah. I've always heard good things about Alice Cooper.
yeah. But I gotta just throw in there about just because you were saying about Paul Stanley.
Mm.
I think we may have touched on this when we did our Kiss show, but Paul is the only person that I've ever heard speak negatively about Eric Carr. I found that really, really weird in his book. Yeah, you
Yeah.
read his book, right?
I have all of theirs. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the, yeah.
So I just found that really, really odd. I mean, Eric was the first Kiss member I met, and anybody that I know who ever met Eric Carr came in contact with him, nothing but positive things. Like Paul was the only person to ever say anything negative about him. Anyway, this is a Motley Crue show, so
That's
I just
right.
I just wanted to throw that in there because you had mentioned Paul Stanley again. So
Well, that's my fault. I start talking Motley Crue, or Kiss with Motley Crue.
yeah,
So
that's
it's-
okay.
we got a lot of people watching today. Got a lot of good comments. Thanks everybody for checking out the show. If you want to help support the channel, folks, I have links below for Guitar Hack merch. I've got embroidered hats now, and t-shirts, and all that good stuff for the summer. There's also a PayPal below there that would be helpful. Also, check out my Instagram group and my Facebook group there below as well. And I should mention on Wednesday this week, so 2 days from now, we will be doing a ranking show of the band Budgie, Budgie. Okay, not a super well known band, and hopefully we'll get some people turned on to Budgie on Wednesday. A fantastic band that if you've never checked these guys out, go listen to some Budgie. Amazing 3-piece band, power trio. And that show will be with myself, Martin Popoff, and Pete Pardo, and that will be Wednesday this week at 8 o'clock. So I
You know,
want to thank.
I'm
Sorry,
I'm
go
not
ahead, Mike.
sorry, I was gonna say I'm not familiar with Budgie, but I did have one. So does that am I allowed to like watch your show then?
You can
Else
watch, yeah,
I
but
know it's
listen
not quite
to
the same thing, but, like,
not quite the same thing.
I did
No,
have
but
a
Mike,
budgie and I really liked it, so who knows? I might like this band too.
honestly, Mike, seriously, you should go.
Yeah?
You would dig them. You would dig 'em. I'll even tell you which albums to listen to.
Okay.
What, but but we'll talk about everybody. We'll talk about that on Wednesday's show. So check out Wednesday 8 o'clock. We're going to talk some budgie. I want to thank Mike for joining me again.
Thanks, man.
Uh,
Thanks. Been a blast.
it's always fun to have you on, and I want to wish everybody rest of your week. But hopefully, we'll see you on Wednesday. So take care, everybody. Good night.